Welcome to the channel, folks. My name's Shane. In today's video, we're checking out the Viltrox DC-X3 Professional Field Monitor. And while this says photographic monitor on the front, it is a fully featured touchscreen video field monitor. And I'll be focusing on how it performs in combination with my Lumix S5 Mark IIX and my Sony FX3. Before we get into this video, just a quick disclaimer, Viltrox has supplied this monitor for this review, but I have no input into it or get to preview it ahead of time, and all thoughts about this are my own as always. If you want to skip ahead back or forth to any particular section, I'll timestamp the video down in the description. Let's get into it. Let's start by covering the features and build quality. So the DC-X3 has a 6-inch 16:9 1080 display, and it gives us a 1000:1 contrast ratio, which means the darkest part of the image are 1000 times darker than the brightest parts, or vice versa. This improved display now runs at 60 Hz, and if you like to shoot in the higher frame rates, you'll get a very fluid image. This Viltrox monitor has no issues with DCI 4K or DCI 5.8K, which is that 17:9 aspect ratio, and it also worked fine with OpenGate using my S5 Mark IIX. Now, the S5 Mark IIX does have downscaling via HDMI, but it shows up on screen as a 4K input signal. I also tested 100 and 120 frames per second using my Sony FX3, and I could still monitor the scene through this monitor, which is excellent thanks to that 60 Hz refresh rate. Unlike the more affordable DC-550 Pro I reviewed a year or so ago, the new DC-X3 accepts both HDMI and SDI inputs, and also features a HDMI and SDI output. This can come in really handy in different studio situations where you need to run the monitor to another device, and I've tested this in the studio, and it's a nice clean signal going out of the unit. I also love the fact Viltrox have moved the HDMI ports to the side. I find this a lot easier to mount directly on top of the camera, as opposed to the older version here, which had the HDMI ports underneath. Just below the HDMI ports, we get a headphone output, which allows you to monitor your audio nice and simply. There's no built-in speaker on this, but if you just want to listen and monitor what's going on, you can plug in a set of headphones. There's also volume controls. On this side over here, we get a 1/4 screw point, so if you want to mount this vertically, you can. Or of course, there's one underneath, so you can mount it on top of your camera this way. Like the previous version, there's an included detachable sunshade which folds up beautifully, and it has a push button locking design, so it's not going to accidentally open when you don't want it to. Now, the top panel of this monitor houses the power, return, and function buttons for operating the display. Next to the USB-C port, there's a dedicated DC input for external power, and this requires 12 to 18 volts at 2 amps, so make sure you have the correct power. For those using the USB-C power delivery system built into this, you need 9 volts at 3 amps, and I've tested this and it works beautifully. At the time of filming, the screen is priced at $268 in the US, or around 400 Australian dollars. For that price, it's a pretty great buy if you're in the market for a portable monitor. There's also more affordable options from Viltrox, including the X2 and DC-550 Pro, and I'll link to my video in the description if you want to check those out. The overall build quality on this unit is excellent. Not only is the entire back and side panels metal, there's cooling vents all over it and internal active cooling to prevent any issue with overheating. The internal fan can be set to automatic mode, or it can be set to low, medium, high, or off. Now by default, it's set to medium. I would just set it to automatic for most shooting scenarios. Let's talk about the size comparison here up against the DC-550 Pro. So you can see that it's quite a bit different in size. The DC-550 Pro is mostly plastic, but it's built extremely well. It also helps keep the weight down, but this only comes in at 350 grams or 12.3 ounces. Let's talk about everything that we get in the box. So included, we obviously get the monitor. We get a really cool carry case as well, which houses all of the accessories. We get the Sunshade hood, a single rechargeable MPF style battery with a built-in USB-C port for easy charging. This battery is the same one found on the prior version, on the DC-550 Pro that I reviewed, which is nice. Included, we also get 2 separate HDMI cables. One's got a C connector and the other one has both A connectors, which is fantastic. So depending on your camera system, or if you're going out of an A10 Mini, for example, you can make it work. These HDMI cables are also the perfect length to go straight out of the HDMI port on your camera directly into the monitor. We get a USB-C cable to charge up the battery, and you can just plug the other end into something like a phone charger. There's a screen protector included as well, which I thought was a really great touch, and a warranty card. And lastly, there's also a shoe adapter included, and this is fully adjustable, so you can change the angle of the monitor on your camera. Viewing angles on the X3 are also very good, so if you're looking at it from the side, you can still see what's going on. I had no complaints with the prior version either, and this one is basically exactly the same. The monitors are also sharp enough that I can see all of the details without struggling. I also prefer the slightly larger size over the original 5.5 inch version, and you can see the difference here just in terms of size. So if you're like me, you like a bigger screen, go for this one right here. To adjust the brightness, all you have to do is swipe up and down on the screen like a phone or tablet. I can really appreciate the intuitiveness of this. You don't have to go diving through menus to adjust the brightness. You can simply just use a gesture on screen and you're in business. This screen can also be fully adjusted from 0%, which is still on, all the way up to 100% brightness, or roughly 2000 nits. That's its rating, so it's very bright. Just for context, here in the studio, setting it to about 12 to 15% is still plenty bright. If you're outside though, shooting on a bright sunny day, of course you'll need to ramp that up, and I would also recommend using this little guy. This is the provided Sunshade, and then you're in business. This will definitely help you if you're shooting in a tough situation outdoors. At the end of the day, there's no issues with viewing angles or not having enough brightness. This is plenty bright for most situations. I also love the fact if you're listening with headphones through the 3.5mm audio connector, that you can adjust the volume just by swiping on the left of the screen. So brightness is on the right, volume is on the left. All right, let's talk about battery life. So running the screen at 25%, I was able to use it just shy of 2 hours before the battery completely ran out. Now, increasing or decreasing the brightness will definitely affect the performance of the battery, both positively and negative. So just use this test as a guide in different brightness scenarios. But again, if I'm using it in the studio, 25% is still too bright. I would set it to 15, which would no doubt increase the runtime. Let me give you a quick rundown of some of the tools built into this and how it operates. So as you can see right now, I've got almost a clean feed. It's a clean feed with focus peaking, and the focus peaking is green. We'll come back to the focus peaking in just a moment, but you can tap anywhere twice on screen. It'll bring up this menu. Now, if you want to monitor your audio or even turn it back off, you just use these toggle switches here. So we have Histogram, Vectorscope, RGB Parade, which is always a good one to have on as well. This is great for exposure. And we get full waveform, which is essentially everything at once. So if you need all the tools on, you can turn them on and off nice and fast by using these toggle switches. If you want to apply a LUT, just for preview, the LUTable list in the center here allows you to pick from the main manufacturers on the right. From this second option over here, we can adjust the focus peaking in terms of strength by using these controls over here. So you can set it however you like. I like it right around 8 or 9. I like it to be very obvious where focus peaking is. And we can change the color over here as well, which is awesome. So if you're shooting in a scene with lots of green, you might want to change it to red, and then you'll be in business. From this bottom menu over here, we get plenty of different tools. There's a couple of different false color options as well, which may come in really handy. And if to turn it off, all you have to do is tap it again. It brings you back to where you were. There's also some different peaking options as well, which is really cool. So if you need the peaking tool, I'm just going to use this slider. It's really hard working behind the camera like this, but you get the point. You can see all the peaking on screen. We also get the option here to change the color readout on the monitor. As you can see, this might come in handy in different shooting scenarios, or if you're shooting at night. If you're working in an unboxing scenario, for example, and you need to flip it vertically, you have that ability within that second menu from the right over here, which is really cool. Or of course, you can flip it horizontally if you're in a situation where that's handy. From this third option over here, we get all of our different markers, and there's also a dedicated zoom option. So if you want to set up sort of like a safe area to work within, you can set it to either 85%, 80, 90, 93, or 96. It's up to you, and you can also change the color of the border as well. So if you want to change this and make it thicker so it's more obvious to your eye, and then change the color to black or white, whatever, you can do that as well. If you want a center marker, it's off this menu right here. As you can see, it's put a plus right in the dead center. And we can also work within the rule of thirds by using this trisection option. Now we have our dedicated aspect ratio markers. So 4:3, 235:1, 185:1, and 9:16, which is our vertical aspect ratio. So if you're doing any type of social content with a standard camera, this will be invaluable. Now, if the input signal to the monitor is of a different aspect ratio over 16:9, you can then go into this option and select from any of these options right here. So if I tap one of these on screen right now, it's going to look a little bit skewed because I'm not sending an open gate signal to this right now. I'm using 16:9, but if you leave it to auto, it will automatically accept and adjust the image within the monitor. While you can just pinch to zoom in and out on this, I love the fact you've got a 2, 4, 8, and 10 times zoom at your disposal just by using the magnification option on screen here. And this is really handy just for nailing critical focus. The picture icon on the left over here allows you to adjust all of the parameters just for viewing. So if you need to change the brightness, you can change the brightness nice and simply. You can slide this around. We have contrast, saturation, hue, sharpness. The backlight is the backlight of the monitor itself. So this will get very bright if I crank it up this way. I'm just going to leave it set down so you can see everything else that's going on so I don't overexpose the camera. And we've got our color temperature. So if you need to change this, you can as well. And you can see the reference color sort of changing as I cycle through each of these. If we take a look at the settings icon, you can see that we can switch between HDMI and SDI. There's 2 languages built in, so we get Chinese and English. The fan speed can be set anywhere from low, medium, high, off, or automatic. You can also adjust the volume for playback with headphones. You can do that on screen just by swiping up and down on the left-hand side. We get our on-screen display menu. This is like its transparency, so if you want it less transparent, you can turn it off. And then we've got all of these different options here as well. On the top of the unit, as I explained already, there's 4 function keys. You can have them do whatever you like, which is really cool. You just saw me zoom out right there. So let's assign something to one of them. We go to the settings option, go over to F key right here. Then we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's get rid of 3D LUT. Let's turn this into something else. So we've got all of these tools that we can quick map, which I really like. I'm going to change this one to center marker. And then we go OK. And now if I hit F3, center marker is going to go on and off. I've already assigned 2 for focus peaking. So there's focus peaking on and off. I really love this. You can have it work in a way that's best for your shooting scenario. All right, let's wrap this video up. So should you upgrade from the DC-550 Pro over to the X3? The quick answer here, I think, is no, unless you're looking for a larger monitor. And if you are, then definitely get the big one. But I think the deal makers here are the fact that we get SDI on the back. That's probably something that will be a deal maker if you're in a situation where you're using SDI. I also love the fact that the HDMI ports are now on the side as opposed to the bottom. This was something I didn't really think about in my original review. A few people in the comment section mentioned that the HDMI underneath can sometimes get in the way if you're just connecting it directly to a camera. And I did experience that only in one scenario, but it's definitely there, and you probably need to get a specialty right angle HDMI cable if you're in those sort of scenarios. So this kind of addresses both of those, and having the HDMI out as a really great clean feed is also really cool. So yeah, I think this is great. I probably wouldn't rush out and upgrade it over this one if you have it already, but if you're looking for something a little bit larger, this is definitely worth checking out. Thanks again for watching. My name's Shane. I will catch you on the next one. See ya.